Another election, another controversy. And once again, Africa's future is being held hostage by its past. This time, it's Cameroon, where 92-year-old Paul Biya, who has ruled since 1982, that's 43 years in power, by the way, is once again at the center of chaos and allegations of election rigging. The question is no longer whether African elections are free and fair. The question is, why are we still being ruled by leaders old enough to have governed during colonial times? No, Paul Biya must have pride, man. It's disgusting now. The October 12, 2025 elections in Cameroon were supposed to be a chance for renewal, an opportunity for the people to choose new leadership after 4 bloody decades of the same face. But instead, the country found itself in yet another political storm. 5 appeals alleging electoral fraud have been lodged against Cameroon's presidential election, demanding the cancellation of the vote. The country's 92-year-old President Paul Biya is seeking an 8th term in the latest elections that were held on October 12. However, none of the appeals have been filed by President Biya's top rival, Issa Tchiroma Bakary. Now, speaking of the opposition leader, Issa Tchiroma Bakary, he had declared victory early, saying the people had chosen him and demands that Biya concede. But the government's electoral body quickly dismissed his claim, insisting the opposition did not win. But he is ballsy, need I tell you that? The official results, due by October 26, have yet to be released. But according to reports, the results streaming in right now shows that the opposition leader Issa Tchiroma stands a really good chance to unseat the world's oldest ruler, who is currently 92 years old. Yes, I do agree that he stands a really good chance in unseating Paul Biya, but the Cameroon Electoral Commission has been accused of election rigging, and I can believe that because angry Cameroonians slapped and descended on an electoral officer after it was found that he manipulated the votes in favor of Paul Biya. And if that is not enough, Cameroonians living in Ivory Coast were locked out of their embassy to restrict them from voting so that electoral officials can manipulate votes in favor of Paul Biya. Meanwhile, the streets of Douala and other cities erupted. Protests, clashes, tear gas. An office of Biya's ruling CPDM party was even set ablaze in the western city of Dishang because the people fear that election rigging will doom them with the washed-up Paul Biya for another term. Tensions are rising fast in Cameroon.
Je suis l'un de ceux qui ont bagarré pour le président Issa Tchiroma. Voyez, nous on veut un changement. Nous voulons un changement. Tchiroma est notre président pour définitif. Nous avons brûlé la voiture de la gendarmerie nationale. Oui, Issa Tchiroma est notre président, je vous dis. Voyez, ils nous ont fui. Ils ont envoyé beaucoup de balles, 6 balles contre nous. Et voilà que nous avons vaincu, ils ont fui. Je vous l'ai dit, nous sommes les participants pour le changement.
To even escalate this matter, his daughter urged Cameroonians to not vote for her father, citing his toxicity to the development of Cameroon.
Brenda Biya, daughter of Cameroon's longtime president Paul Biya, has publicly called on citizens not to vote for her father in the country's upcoming October 2025 election. In a TikTok live broadcast from Switzerland, the 27-year-old, known by her stage name King Nasty, said Cameroonians have endured poverty, unemployment, and stagnation during her father's 43 years in power. The dramatic intervention marks the first time in Africa that the child of a sitting president has openly urged voters to oppose their parent. Brenda accused her family of mistreating her, claiming they had abandoned her and even wanted her dead. She declared she will cut all ties with her parents and expressed hope for another president to lead Cameroon. At 92 years old, Paul Biya is one of the world's longest-serving leaders, having ruled the Central African nation since 1982.
For many young Cameroonians, this election was never about hope. It was about survival. They believe the outcome was decided long before the first vote was cast. Why? Because months before the elections, the main opposition candidate, Maurice Kamto, was barred from running, disqualified by the Election Commission over so-called technical issues. Human Rights Watch called that move a clear sign of bias and manipulation. I mean, how can an election be democratic if the strongest opposition voice isn't even allowed to compete? Dang, dang, dang. And this isn't just a Cameroonian story. This is an African story in general. From Uganda's Museveni, who was in power since 1986, to Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiang ruling since 1979, to Congo's Denis Sassou Nguesso in charge for nearly 40 years, and now Paul Biya, who barely appears in public but still refuses to step down, still wants power. Africa's obsession with strong men, old leaders clinging to power under the illusion of stability, is slowly killing the continent's potential. These men have turned leadership into personal ownership. They've blurred the line between state and self, and the results are the same across the board. Youth unemployment remains high, corruption goes unpunished, innovation is stifled, and democracy becomes a word used only in speeches but never in practice. In Cameroon, citizens say they've had enough, but their anger needs police batons, not ballot reforms. Reports from The Guardian, AP, and Reuters confirm that security forces have used tear gas and water cannons on demonstrators protesting alleged vote tampering. Even as violence escalates in Cameroon, the ruling party insists everything is calm. But there's nothing calm about a 92-year-old man ruling a nation of 28 million people for 43 years, most of whom weren't even born when he took office. Let's call it what it is. Africa is being held hostage by its own forefathers. Our leaders refuse to pass the torch, and the continent's youth are paying the price. Hello? We are told to be patient, to respect experience, to wait our turn. But how long must we wait? Until the next election rigging? Until the next protest turns into a massacre? Burkina Faso showed the world that sovereignty means saying no to outside pressures. Now, Cameroon must show that democracy means saying no to outdated power. Because Africa's downfall will not come from the lack of resources or talent. It will come from recycling the same old leaders who refuse to let a new generation breathe. It's time to stop glorifying longevity and start demanding legacy. Not leaders who die in office, but leaders who build systems that outlive them. Until then, elections like Cameroon's will keep reminding us, if Africa doesn't change its leadership culture, the future will never belong to its people. Burkina Faso is literally demonstrating that. Burkina Faso is living in its true democracy, and they're saying no to outside pressures, despite the propaganda flying all around, claiming that Ibrahim Traoré is a dictator. The people of Burkina Faso are happy. They've taken back the power. So it's time for Cameroon to also demonstrate that they can take the power by saying no to Paul Biya's longevity, by saying no to Paul Biya's extended term, by saying no to Paul Biya wanting to die in office and never building systems that outlive him, saying no to that disgusting legacy. I don't even have the words for it. I nearly said a vulgar word. Thank God my tongue gripped a little bit. Thank God my tongue gripped a little bit. But that legacy is disgusting. It is foul. It is oppressive. Yes, Paul Biya's legacy is oppressive. And no one is going to remember such a leader. He has health issues. What are the common health issues for 92-year-olds? Aren't you deaf, blind at some point? And you refuse to step down. 43 years in power. That's the problem. African leaders think that the countries they rule or lead are their birthright. They're not your birthright. Ibrahim Traore demonstrated that. And the fact that his daughter stepped forward and say, don't vote for my dad. Don't vote for my father. He's the reason why Cameroon is not developing anyway. I mean, guys, what innovative ideas are we going to get from a 92-year-old man that rarely makes a public appearance? He does not even know the state of his country. Because he doesn't step outside. He hasn't stepped outside in a long time. He's deaf. He's blind. He's sick. He has health issues. How is he supposed to listen to the problems in parliament, to his country's problems? How is he supposed to offer innovation, technological, scientific innovation to the country of Cameroon? How is he supposed to develop Cameroon? The reason why Africa is poor is not because of lack of resources and these sellout leaders that keep opening the portal or the mineral portal for the West. No. Is because we keep recycling these old tired leaders. Slap you. Stop it. Cameroon show us that it's time for change. We can see that the opposition leader is ballsy, declaring himself a true champion, declaring himself a winner before the election results can be announced. That's ballsy. That's someone you need in your corner. That is someone that you need to rule you. What do you think about this segment? Comment to us in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share the broadcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss these groundbreaking conversations right here on the African Diaspora News Channel. And oh, family, I have my own YouTube channel. It's called The Native Talk. I'm sure you've already heard about it. Thank you to the people that are already subscribing. I am a few subscribers close to reaching my goals. So thank you so much for the ones that are subscribing and commenting and engaging on my content on the Native Talk YouTube page. I appreciate you. And if you haven't subscribed to the Native Talk, the link is in the description box below. We talk everything African politics, African pop culture, and the cultural landscape that form this continent I call home. And one day, maybe me and you can travel this continent together. Who knows? But until then, see you next time.